The Hog Sty is brought to you by TicketClub.com, your one-stop shop for live events nationwide. Whether you're looking for game, theater, or live performance tickets, don't sweat it. TicketClub.com has you covered. So make sure you're going there for all your live entertainment needs, and make sure you're clicking over to them from the banner at the top of the hogsty.com.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another fantastic week of Redskins talk here at the Hog Sty. Steve has flown into the D.C. metro area. He's not in my office though. He's all the way out in Ashburn-ish area.
I'm in the Hog Sty's Ashburn office today. Actually.
Right. And apparently you got to do a little. You ran into somebody out there.
Yeah, I almost had a guest for the show. I truly did. I chickened out. Yeah, I 20 minutes ago ran into Morgan Moses in a coffee shop. And yes, I did think about fanboying him and say, listen, we want to interview you. But, you know, he would have probably crushed me.
Yeah.
You know, it's Saturday morning. The man is trying to get coffee. He didn't want to be interviewed by a media member
and
out of the clear blue sky.
You didn't think about inviting him up to your hotel room?
Yeah, come up to my room. Yeah, no, that wouldn't have gone over well either.
Look, it's simple. Like, what are the routes? Who do we have to go to speak? Get 15 minutes with you on the Hog Sty.
Or better yet, I'm going to ambush. Yeah, let's just ambush him.
Yeah, with our recorders and start asking questions.
Yeah, he was. He didn't look like he was in the mood for it. He had the largest pickup truck I have ever seen in my entire life.
Isn't that what all offensive linemen tend to drive? Is like a giant freaking pickup truck? That's like the stereotype.
Yeah.
Unless they want to be different and get the smallest car in the world.
There was a guy
and get a Lambo.
Or like
I know, that's exactly what we're thinking of the same person. I already know it.
Was it exactly Lichtensteiger or somebody who had like a smart car?
Oh, we're not thinking about the same person.
It wasn't Corey Lichtensteiger. Did not have a Lambo. Okay, I'm sorry to tell you.
No, he said smart car. I don't.
There was
one
lineman way back under like Gibbs or Zorn that had like a smart car for some reason. It was weird.
Oh man, I've slept since then, dude. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's keep on talking linemen real quick because a little bit of news came out. I guess it was yesterday or the day before that Trent Williams had more surgery on his head, supposedly to clean up the injury. Or not injury, what was it, a tumor or whatever that they removed.
Tumor, yeah.
I wonder if this played into how upset he apparently was. I don't know, but, you know, like...
who knows, man? I mean, it's hard to tell. Yeah. It really is. I mean, he Instagrammed the picture out of him from a hospital bed, for those of you who didn't see it. All you could see was his feet, but he was clearly in a hospital. Ian Rappaport, who is, Mr. Every Rumor all the time, from ESPN, claimed it was just a cleanup procedure, like Alex said, so we don't know. I'm sure it doesn't make him happy.
No.
I think it's clear. I think it's clear to me at this point that this is more about whatever the medical stuff's going on, and not about salary. It may be about salary to some extent, but to me, this is all about Trent and his medical
I agree, and he just can't get healthy. And I don't remember the last time Trent's been 100%. Well,
I do. It was 2013.
Well, okay.
That's when he played 16 games.
I kind of. I don't know what it's about. Personally, I do think that Trent obviously has an issue. Clearly, because you don't. From what I understand, and I trust people who said this because I don't follow Trent on Instagram, but they say that he rarely posts, or he really posts videos of him working out and stuff like that. So for him to go and post on his Instagram story of him in a hospital, that's something that needs to be, that does need to be talked about, because he rarely does it.
The only other thing I'll also mention about the whole Trent Williams thing, and we'll move on after this, his socks were on upside down. The little footy socks. I don't know who pointed that out. Somebody pointed it out and was like, oh yeah, the sticky parts are all facing up.
Alex East, the fashion.
It's crazy because those are the best
really
socks that nobody really likes to wear.
I mean, the bigger question, I wish Trent, obviously, all the best and all that for health-wise, but, I mean, the bigger issue truly is, what if he really does hold out? This is a serious problem. Who are you going to play? Who at left tackle? Jaron Christian, I guess, who's hurt. Eric Flowers has proved one thing we've learned. It's that Eric Flowers does not need to play left tackle. That's one thing we've learned.
He does not need to play in the NFL.
I would be more willing to try the rookie center we drafted at left tackle than Eric Flowers right now.
You're going to put
Ross
Pierschbacher out there.
Yeah, huh? I would rather do that than Flowers. Yes.
Or like Tyler Catalina or somebody.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll put a Craigslist ad out.
Yeah, exactly.
Wanted left tackle if you're over 6'3".
Shoot, give Robbie Duncan. Tell him get back in shape.
Robbie needs to start eating though. Last time I talked to Robbie, he was like down to like 240.
Yeah, he's maybe a tight end at this point.
Except he's not fast.
No.
So. Point is this: we don't have any starting quality left tackle on the team. Period. Dot the end. Right now, even if you assume Jaron Christian's healthy, I told you guys last time I watched some of his film. I wasn't totally offended by it, but still, I mean, if we're starting a rookie quarterback with the likes of Jaron Christian or Eric Flowers, that is
it's
not
a big red
well.
flag, is what it is.
It's a giant, humongous, waving red flag over the entire city of Washington, D.C.
So, it's going to be tough. And luckily we won't see too much behind the scenes because the Redskins won't be on Hardknocks. So there's that story, too.
Good.
This is a double-edged sword. One, I would have loved to see it just to see it. But the nice thing for me is now I can cancel HBO for next month and, save $15.
Well, I'm with you guys. I actually did kind of want to see it. I was looking forward to it. I think I don't understand the people who say that the Redskins have no interest in storylines. Like the only time you find out like that those exist is when you put them on the show. We have characters. I mean, we got personality. Jay Gruden himself, like the stuff that you hear from pressers in itself, and then the things that you hear sometimes when he's mic'd up on local TV, like during practice and stuff like that. You hear things from him, and you understand like, okay, you want to hear a little bit more from him for about 4 or 5 weeks on HBO for an hour. Like, that's what you want to understand. You want to understand how he runs the team, things like that. And on top of that, we need fans. We need some help because the Redskins fan base is depleted and dejected overall.
I mean,
so get us some fan base from a national perspective.
I hear you, and you're right, and that's the most logical position to take. My fear has always been it's just going to be train wreck. It's the Redskins. Something awful's going to happen. Because nothing ever goes smoothly for this team. And so, do they really need cameras around, really need more distractions? Is this a team, clearly there's interesting storylines for all the reasons you said, but is this a team that really needs more cameras and more distractions around them? I'm like, I have like Redskins PTSD at this point, and I'm just conditioned to think that it's for something a hard knock, something awful is going to happen. It's illogical, but that's how I feel.
It's not illogical at all. I think that's how teams all react that way. So, I don't think there's anything illogical about that.
They turn their nose up at it all the time initially until they get forced to get on
I think the shame of it to me is if you'd put the Redskins on Hard Knocks, Darius guys would become one of the most popular players in the NFL overnight. I'm convinced of that.
Darius, yeah. I mean, of course, he may be rehabbing. Who knows how much he'd even be available on camera?
That's true.
He's rehabbing.
What would have helped though with all those cameras?
What's that?
If we had a Hog Sty T-shirt for the person who's going down there reporting to training camp, and then when we get on HBO and we have the logo,
you mean
free advertising?
Are you saying like you want me to buy you a shirt, or you're like because I wear my Hog Sty T-shirt when I go down to camp?
Well, no, you see, Alex, the problem is Hard Knocks is not coming to us
I know.
anymore. Which I think that's Jamal's point.
Yeah, and that was getting in the way. So now we got to figure things out. Well, actually, to be honest with you. Look, we're gonna talk. We may be able to get a shirt. I may be able to get a shirt for us. Oh no, I may be able to get a shirt from you, so I can wear it down there for the time I'm down there, just to represent the logo. So we're gonna talk about
I wear the hat myself, which is even dorkier.
I think we ought to do is somebody needs to go to Oakland and be on Hard Knocks. Go to the Raiders training.
You're the
camp.
closest.
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
Sean
is the closest.
You can't even get Sean out of bed, much less to Oakland, though. He's not going to do it.
Tell him there's attractive women there. He'll go.
There you go. It's Oakland. There's no attractive women in Oakland.
It's California. The women in California are better looking than the women in D.C., even on the worst day. So I don't know.
I don't know about that, man.
It's a competition. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is.
And I can't even. Yeah.
We're not talking about San Diego. We're talking about Oakland.
Yeah, that's true.
Remember that.
Well, San Francisco's right across the river, or bay, or whatever it is.
That might be even worse.
Not women-wise. They're all rich at this point.
Either that or they're hippies with hair under their arms.
But even the hippies are millionaires over there.
See, you would like the hippies, though, Alex. You're a hippie yourself.
That's fine. But I'm not a millionaire hippie. Every house in San Francisco now costs over $1 million, they say. So,
yeah.
But if you go out there for like 2 days, you'll mess around and become a rich hippie.
Probably.
You'll figure out their ways.
I mean, it's not
Welcome
hard
to the
figure
California
out.
real
Make
estate show,
software
folks.
sell weed. That's their trick.
That's easy. Silicon Valley is in the area. It's out there.
Yeah, but my computer skills are not that level, so I would go out there and be laughed at. All right, let's move on because
don't sell yourself short, man.
I've talked to guys out there; they laugh at it.
Listen, if you can program the Hog Sty website, you can do anything on the computer. Okay.
We use a software for that. I don't hand code anymore.
Look, don't tell the listeners anything. All right.
That's true. We spend hundreds of hours. We do spend hundreds of hours.
We
on
do.
That, so that's not really fair.
Yeah.
But, but you did hand code the first website.
Yeah, the first 2 or 3 years I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on because we're kind of like way off topic now.
Yeah. It's welcome to the non-Redskins
Moses,
show.
Hardknocks, Williams. All right. Let's talk about the Hall of Fame story that our buddy Rick Snyder wrote something about here. He was at a rally that's trying to get Larry Brown in the Hall of Fame because there's a Hall of Fame Centennial class plan that's out there.
Hey, 1 second. I'm sorry, Alex. We did forget the poll.
No, the poll's later.
We're gonna. All right. Because it was. Oh shoot,
the poll was on Montez Sweat.
I'm sitting here thinking it was on Trent Williams.
No, that was last week's poll.
It was last week.
We already did that. You slept since then.
I had a brain.
That's all right. That's all right.
So,
the Hall of Fame is voting on a Centennial class, basically to try and get a bunch of the senior guys who haven't gotten in the Hall of Fame. It's to get rid of a backlog, so to speak.
We don't know how many.
No,
they didn't really announce that. They just said they're doing a Centennial class. Yeah. They vaguely said they're doing a Centennial class. And what if you guys go back to our interview with Rick Goslin, which was how long ago was that?
A year or two ago.
Alex, a year and a half
at least.
Yeah. Rick said that for those of you who don't know, it's much, much harder to get in as a senior committee just because of it's just the sheer volume. And that's why we were so discouraged about Joe Jacoby. They didn't get in for that reason. So the idea behind this thing is they're going to clear some of the backlog of seniors out. So that's the idea.
And I think in the article I read, it might have even been Rick Goslin they were talking to because it was one of those types of guys, and he was saying there's something like at least a dozen guys who are all decade team caliber players who didn't get in the Hall of Fame somehow, and so it's that's the kind of thing they're looking to correct, and that would be a Joe Jacoby. Obviously Snyder is stumping for Larry Brown, like I said, which, I think that's another name that's very deserving if you're looking at the pantheon of...
You want me to be honest, or do you want me to just toe the party line with my Larry Brown comments?
No, you can. I don't ever ask anyone to toe the party line.
Okay. All right, so listen. Larry Brown on a career played 8 years.
Right.
5,875 yards rushing, 2,485 yards passing, average 3.8 yards per attempt rushing. He made 4 Pro Bowls, 2 All-Pro teams.
Okay.
That's a good resume. For the Redskins, he's certainly one of the very top running backs we've ever had. He had significant, he had 238 receptions. Mm-hmm. He played a significant role in the great teams in the early 70s. Including the Super Bowl team in 1972. To me, he's in the Hall of Very Good, and I'm sorry. I'd love to be able to tout every Redskin candidate, but to me, there's a reason Larry Brown isn't in, and it has nothing to do with anti-Redskins bias. It's because his numbers are not Hall of Fame worthy. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, but they aren't. That's just how I feel about it.
All right, so who else do you think should be in then from the Redskins?
Jacoby, number one, it has to be Jacoby.
I think no one's going to debate you on that.
And the other one to me is Brian Mitchell. Brian Mitchell gets no love at all when it comes to the Hall of Fame for some reason. He's never even made it past like the semifinal stage, to my knowledge.
No, I don't even think he's ever really gotten out of round one. Yeah.
Yeah, but the truth of the matter is, B. Mitch is one of the greatest return men in the history of the game, and that's not just me being a Redskins homer. You know, this man was a legitimate terror at punt and kick returns.
Didn't he retired with the record in yardage, all-purpose yards?
Yes.
And he's been, I guess, what was it? Rice surpassed it after he retired. Is that right?
Yeah, but
still,
yeah, I believe you're. You're right. But Brian B. Mitch and Jacoby to me are the two.
Okay.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I can't really speak on Jacoby, and I can't speak on Brown. I respect everybody's opinion and can't argue any for or against. So whatever it is, that's the case. But for B. Mitch, I can relate a little bit towards that. And I actually agree. Like, anytime you do hold those records and you're a threat, anytime you get on the field for your specific aspect, like if you're a punt returner or, a return specialist, just put it that way, a return specialist. It doesn't matter if you're not that effective on offense, knowing the position that he played, but still, like, if you're that elite as a return man, you don't have to have the highlight plays like a Dante Hall or Tyreek Hill or anything like that. Like, he just made things happen. And he scored. It was north-south. It was never trying to make people miss or being so elusive where like he was a human highlight reel. No, he got the job done, and he ended up breaking records in the process.
If you ever listen to him talk about his mentality of really punt returning, it's so different from a lot of these East-West type runners. It's get as many yards as you can. If you get a first down's worth of yards, that's huge. You know, that was kind of what he wanted to do every time.
Yeah, exactly.
I would like to read you guys the top all-purpose yardage leaders in NFL history. Are you ready? Jerry Rice, number 1, 23,546 yards.
It's a lot of yards.
Brian Mitchell, it is a lot of yards. Brian Mitchell, number 2, 23,330 yards. Walter Payton, number 3. Emmitt Smith, number 4. Tim Brown, number 5. You know what's common among all of those guys with Brian Mitchell?
They're all in the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
They're all in the Hall of Fame. Darren Sproles, still active. Number 6. Marshall Faulk, number 7, Hall of Fame. Steve Smith, number 8, will be in the Hall of Fame. Frank Gore, number 9, probably will be in the Hall of Fame too. LaDainian Tomlinson and Barry Sanders, 10 and 11. So in other words, if you assume Steve Smith and Frank Gore will get in, which they probably will, the only two guys who probably won't be in the Hall of Fame are Mitchell and Sproles out of those. Yeah.
Sproles,
so that just goes to show you.
Sproles, actually also surprising that he's up there in my mind, but
he's in the Hall of Good.
He's a similar type of player as B. Mitch was in terms of his style of being like a dual threat running back, and I don't ever think of Sproles as an elite kick returner, punt returner. I know he did it for a while though.
I mean, I just think, So, I agree with everything you guys have said about him. He's a get-the-job-done type of guy. He did nothing but produce results. I don't know why he didn't get more love in the beginning. I just think his time's probably passed, which is unfortunate.
Well, we've heard this before about other guys. Do you think that the fact that B. Mitch can be somewhat of a gritty personality might have something to do with it, too?
Well, yeah. Absolutely.
Because we heard that's why guys didn't want Art Monk in there, and they don't like Jacoby. It's because these were guys who the media didn't necessarily get along with at times.
This is why I don't think the media should be voting for the Hall of Fame.
No, I've always said it should be the people in the Hall of Fame who vote for who gets in next.
Nah, that I agree with. I feel like, and I'm pretty sure y'all just spoke on it really, essentially. I think the media just has too much bias. Yeah. It doesn't matter if they have to be balanced or that's the objective. Like when they vote, it's just too much. And at the same time, the only argument you can make against the player is maybe they have a bias too. Because it's a brotherhood at the end of the day. So they do have ways where they can look out for guys too. So I guess it's good and bad on both ends, but still, like the media just it's a little bit dangerous, more so than
here's what I think. And those of you out there, somebody get in touch with the Hall of Fame and let them know this is the answer. What you do, it's so simple. We need a few media members, okay? So I think what you need to have is a mix of voters. Have a handful of media members. You have a handful of Hall of Famers.
Mm-hmm.
You have a handful of active players.
Like
league leader type. Like a couple of them, like league leader types. I'm not talking about, like Ross Persbacher. I'm talking about like the head of the players union type of guys.
Gotcha.
Those 2 or 3 of those. Have a handful of front office guys. Have like, the GM, have like, I'd hate to say Bruce Allen, but, like the GM of, some team. Have 3 or 4 of those. And then have somebody from the league front office in there voting. And then a handful of football guys like Charlie, like Bobby Beathard type guys, retired.
Well, not Bobby
league
now.
Insiders. No, not Bobby now because he's got his health issues.
Right.
But I mean, somebody like that. So I think you mix all those together. You get away from just having 47, whatever the number is, media members, and now they have like 3 or 4 Hall of Famers.
Sure.
It's just ridiculous. And Jamal's totally right. I don't care what they say. There are obvious biases. It may not be like I cover the Giants, so I hate the Redskins bias, but it's
but
like
there is some of that. That's the sad part. We've heard that that's part of it. That guys who cover the Cowboys don't vote for Redskins and vice versa. And
you're never going to convince me that Peter King doesn't have an anti-Redskins
bias. Oh no, he absolutely does. And so did
Paul Zimmerman.
Yeah, that's the other. Z.
Yeah. He's dead now,
but he had a huge bias.
So I think that, and Paul Zimmerman wrote it. At least he was honest about it. Paul Zimmerman wrote about it. He flat out called it a creepy franchise, and I respect that more than somebody who isn't honest. Like Peter King isn't honest.
No. He said, "No, I'm not doing anything."
He's a sleazeball. So that's what I think. The whole thing.
I enjoy your guys' Twitter battles, by the way.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we've had.
Whenever he does respond,
we've had a few Twitter battles with some Hall of Fame voters and gone back and forth.
Yeah, I don't remember.
So anyway, I think that's the answer. I don't either, but I that's the answer to me. Is you fire like Peter King's been on their way too long. You don't nobody. And there needs to be a term like 5 years or something. Have a mix of people, not just media members voting. I don't mind a few national media guys voting for sure. Right. But it needs to be a mix. That's all. So if somebody out there, a Hall of Fame, if
whatever the number of media guys in there, that's the number of Hall of Fame voters from all the other groups should be too. Like exactly, yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, well, I think there ought to be fewer media members.
Well, I would say let's just say it's 10 media guys, 10 Hall of Famers, 10 front office guys, or something like that.
Whatever the number.
Make it even.
Yeah. I mean, but in terms of the Centennial thing, to wrap this up because we've babbled on all about enough. Joe Jacoby's at the head of that list, okay? He's all 80s, all-decade lineman. Right. Multiple Pro Bowls, all of that stuff. Just because Joe's a senior candidate does not mean we haven't talked about him for a couple years now.
Yeah.
Does not mean we, as a site, I think I can speak for all of us. We all collectively think he belongs in, particularly now that they're making this push. So, vote for Joe. Everybody, email your congressman about it. Bother Congress. Get them to do something. Congress doesn't do anything else useful, so might as well, have a resolution from Congress about Joe Jacoby for the Hall of Fame.
All right. Okay, so let's move on to current Redskins news because we have one more thing on the news docket, and then we got to get to our position group breakdown still. The news that we got a press release about, and it was really the only thing that happened at Redskins Park. They made a couple moves in the front office side of things in the scouting department. It's a bunch of promotions. They brought in 1 or 2 new guys. We could go through the names. I don't think people know who most of our scouts are, so it wouldn't really matter too much. But let's just go through this real quick, and Steve, you can let me know if I'm missing anything. So their Southeast Regional Scout, Cole Spencer, he was promoted to National Scout, as was David Whittington, who was from the Southwest region. They were replaced by Matt Evans, who went to the Southeast from being the Northeast region. Scouting the Northeast region has to be a pretty boring gig for college football. So, that's got to be rough. And then
Southeast is a boring,
Northeast.
Boring regional? Oh, Northeast.
Northeast is Southeast.
You got to go to
SEC
Brown and Rutgers games.
All those big schools. Northeast is Ivy Leagues and
the Columbia football team.
Well, he would have scouted Temple, so he probably found Matt Ioannidis. So there you go. That's probably
Matt Ioannidis, Alex. How is Matt doing?
Great. Alex? He's probably one of the only healthy people on the team right now.
You told me you guys had dinner the other night, candlelight.
So then let's see. Harrison, is it Reacher or Reicher? He was our Bledsoe scout.
Harrison Reacher.
Yeah, whatever his name is. He was a Bledsoe scout, which Steve can explain what Bledsoe is if people want, but it's a thing. It's a whole complicated thing.
In one sentence, Bledsoe is a third-party scouting service that provides data and numbers.
But each team has a guy who does it, which is weird.
Yes, the Redskins didn't for a long time.
And then, so he's going to be our Southwest scout now. So then they brought up some guys to replace those Bledsoe scouts and all, added a new assistant. The one interesting move they made is they hired a former Pro Football Focus analyst to now be the football strategy analyst for the team. And I don't know this guy, Connor Beringer, but Steve, as much as you hate PFF, you have to like that they're actually getting into analytics in the front office a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I hate PFF and the reason why I think they're complete frauds, which they are, is that their rankings are just completely bogus.
Yeah.
It's bogus statistics. And what they're doing is they're preying on the average fan who doesn't understand statistics, and they're touting themselves as this really objective ranking. And really, to be honest, is complete nonsense. They don't share their process for a reason. We have no idea who's even doing these rankings.
Right.
It's complete total. They're a fraud. Sue me if you want. They've already blocked me on Twitter, us on Twitter because of me. But they're a fraud. But in terms of analytics, yeah, obviously the Redskins need to get more into the 21st century with analytics. Some of the numbers that PFF keeps are good. The objective stats they keep are unique to PFF.
Mm-hmm.
You can only get some of this stuff in with them, and so the Redskins definitely needed to take a step forward in that.
When it comes to the objective stats, I actually like a lot of what you can find there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the dummies out there who argue with me about PFF and claim the fact that all 32 teams subscribe to PFF means they're great. They don't subscribe to PFF for their rankings. It's for these objective stats. That's why. And so
just to analyze players a little bit further.
Yeah, I can tell you from having been in an NFL scouting room, nobody gives two poops about PFF's ranking. They don't care. They don't pay attention to them. They do their own rankings. But yeah, so anyway, I think Connor Beringer, if he can help us, do some advanced, analytics in terms of objective analytics, and that helps the team.
Yeah, when you see things like, what's a good example of one of the advanced stats? They'll start doing things like third quarter pressure on quarterbacks and little things like that.
That stuff's all really good.
That's what you want, and that's what makes teams better when they start getting into stats and stats analysis. So that's a cool one. But yeah, so those were the front office moves, which were kind of good.
Generally speaking, it's a time of year they're going to make these kind of moves. It's right after the draft. It's right after free agency, and so when teams reorganize scouting departments, it's now before they get kind of going.
So, last thing I saw in one of the articles about this is that the big objective is they want to make it so that Kyle Smith has more ability to focus on big picture roster building, and that's why they're making these moves.
Yeah, I mean the Redskins historically have had a pretty small scouting department.
Yeah,
they're not the smallest. But they are certainly in the lower half.
Before,
so we've added two people.
Yeah, before we hired Scott McLuhan, I actually went and counted the front office and scouting departments for every team.
It was like them and the Bengals.
Yeah, it was them and the Bengals, and they both had 10 people, and then some teams have 30 or 40 scouts. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, well, just be thankful that we're not the Bengals. If you want to be thankful that there's another team out there that's worse, it's always the Bengals.
Yeah. In terms of front office mismanagement, yes.
Well, it's their owner is a cheapskate. You want to hear the worst Bengals story? I read this. I can't remember the source. This is not my story. I read this in some media outlet, and they were trying to make the players use used jock straps. Meaning, when the players came and checked in, instead of getting all their necessary equipment, they had a pile of used jock straps and said, "Here, use these." And it took one player to go out and buy, 100 of them for every team member. And so that's the depths of despair that the Bengals are in
absurd.
In terms of ownership.
That is just so absurd.
Gross. Yeah. Oh, it's awful.
I mean, were they not even cleaning them? That's got to be my next one.
They might have been cleaning them, but I don't care. You're an NFL football team. You can afford 100 jock straps. Okay?
Give each player a new one every year, at least.
please. Yeah, please.
All right, that is
with that cheery note.
Yes, and people wonder how these guys sickness problems happen.
We need to pray for the Bengals players.
What's that? You guys talked over each other. We're doing, remember that radio. I couldn't hear either one of you.
No, I was just making a stupid one-liner. So go ahead.
But I was just saying, man. Look, we need to pray for the Bengals players. That's all. Like that. Make sure that their health is taken into consideration with this. Well, first off, do you know, just for the sake before we move on, did you know that what's his name, Marvin Lewis? Well, it's not even really a great stat, but he actually should have been. Well, we all know this. He should have been gone a long time ago. But that also plays into the fact that the owner, they don't like to pay their players. And I also feel like technically, actually, it don't even matter. I was about to go into Chad Johnson and a whole bunch of other things with the Redskins, but it's not even important right now. No, I'm sorry.
That's all right. We'll get back to the Redskins.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's get back to the Redskins because we have our last part that we always got to talk about, which is going to be our position group breakdown. We're doing outside linebackers this week.
Yes, sir.
Let's start off with our poll question like we always like to, because we did an outside linebacker poll question this week.
We did. And it was intentional. We do think through these things, to a certain extent. So the poll question for this week was this. How many sacks do you think Montez Sweat will have this season? And the choices were, we went back and forth with the choices to try and come up with some realistic categories because, hashtag Twitter limitations with the numbers and all that. So 0 to 4, 5 to 9, 10 to 12, or 13 plus. Those are the categories. Yeah. And what we've heard, obviously, is, like glowing reports from Jay Gruden about Montez Sweat.
And from the media in general, yeah.
Yeah, on his college film, I was a bit underwhelmed, but, I'm an idiot, so don't pay attention to me. So what do you guys think? Jamal, I'll let you go last, I think, last time. So let's start with you. What do you think about Montez Sweat sack total, and what do you think the public would have voted for?
I think, and we actually talked about this after we put the poll out. The Redskins hadn't had double-digit. I think Kerrigan can get his 10.
Sure.
I'd give him 10 on the nose, like 10 on the dot. But I think Montez Sweat is capable of getting double digits. We haven't had that since 2009. Alex, I think you said with Andre Carter and Brian Orakpo.
That was the Carter, Orakpo, Albert Hainsworth. The last year we were a 3-4 or a 4-3.
And before that, it was Man and Manley.
It's been a while.
That.
So it shows you how underwhelming I'd say our edge pressure is in terms of just having two consistent pass rushers that can get to the quarterback. So with that being said, I believe that he's capable of getting double digits. So I will go with the highest category.
13
plus.
But I think oh shoot.
Well, it was 0 to 4, 0 to 4, 5 to 9, 10 to 12, and 13 plus.
10 to 12.
Okay.
Then I'm sorry, 10 to 12 now. And then I think the players. I said the players. The fans would probably go with the same thing, 10 to 12.
Okay.
I think you're right on the fans being 10 to 12. I think anyone predicting 13 plus is going to be,
insane.
Well, let's say overly optimistic.
Or they listen to too much Jay Gruden.
Yeah. I'm going to say in that 5 to 9 range. I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think, it's his rookie year. It takes some getting used to the NFL. So I'm going to say 5 to 9, with the caveat that I'll be very happy if I'm wrong and it's better.
Of course. And you think the fans are in the 10 to 12?
So.
Did you say? Okay. So, the fans were, by a vote of 62%, overwhelmingly in the 5 to 9 range. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised. Usually there's a lot of homers, when you do these stats polls that are going to be higher. But not this week. Second place was 10 to 12, though, 25%. And then third place was 0 to 4. I don't know how you get to 0 to 4 unless you're just like a masochist who's getting him injured or something.
When we were going back and forth on the numbers.
That's a huge gap from 60 to 20.
Yeah, it is. Huge gap. Like I said, it was overwhelming vote.
Yeah, when we were going back on what we wanted that first one to be, you initially said 0 to 2, and I was like, well, no one's going to vote for that.
Yeah, that was probably pretty dumb, but they probably would have voted for it, actually.
They must just hate it.
Yeah, no, that was a bad category. This is why we talk about these polls ahead of time, because I don't do dumb things. And then the 13-plus was last at 6%. So the 0 to 4 was 7%, and then the 13-plus was 6%. For me, I'm going to go stick with what I saw on film, which, again, I could be totally wrong. You combine that with the fact that it is his rookie year. I just think it's a bit overly optimistic to think this guy's going to be a 10 to 12 sack guy, right away. I thought, frankly, he was probably better against the run. I didn't think the burst this 4.4 speed really showed up on his college film as much as I would have wanted. So to me, I'd be happy if he gets somewhere in the 5 to 9 range, like 6 or 7 sacks this year. That's sort of my prediction. Hope I'm wrong.
Get any comments from the?
We got a few, but most of the comments, I'm only going to read a couple of them because most of them were just giving numbers,
Okay.
But I'll give a few. So here's Aaron White, who is he's at You Done Messed Up, which, I like the handle. That I like. Aaron says 6.5 seems like a solid number for a rookie on a team where there may not be a whole lot of pie to go around with 4 other guys, Allen, Payne, Ioannidis, and Kerrigan, that could post 35-plus sacks between them. Rich DePaul, who is at Peyton03, says, I voted 10 to 12. He just looks like a man amongst boys. And he's got a photo attached to his tweet that has Sweat, Kerrigan, John Allen, and Matt Ioannidis. And Sweat, of course, is towering over all of them because he's 6'6".
Yeah.
Gabrielle Wood says, I'm thinking between 5 and 6, between rotations and being a rookie. I'm trying to keep my expectations low. That's kind of where I am. Let's see. Oh, okay. Dave wrote in again. Dave is one of our annual regulars, or weekly regulars. He says, I can see a lot of disruptive plays early in the season by him, while his sack numbers in the second half of the year will be greater than the first half once he adjusts to the NFL. So 9 total is a realistic number in his opinion.
Okay.
So that's kind of a flavor of the comments. Again, most of the comments this week were just,
4,
giving
8,
a number. So
3.
Yeah. Less interesting. So
Yeah.
So that's the poll.
Now, if you just commented and gave us a number, we do appreciate it. But, explain yourself.
Yeah. Oh, no, definitely. Yeah. Feel free to write a novel. If you have nothing else to do, you're at work, you have nothing else to do, you might as well give us a multi-tweet novel on the sack prediction.
Exactly. So let's get into Montez Sweat and this offensive not offensive outside linebackers, because it's an interesting group now with that addition in my mind. I think we kind of went into the offseason a little bit worried about who was going to be opposite Kerrigan after they let Smith
I'm still
go.
Worried about it.
But this pickup, from what we're hearing, it sounds like it's going to work out pretty well.
Well, my fear with Montez, just watching him in college, my fear was that this guy's a 4-3 defensive end and not a linebacker. So my fear has always been with this guy is that you're going to try to force him into coverage. I don't think he's going to be all that great in coverage. I could be wrong. I hope I am wrong. But to me, this guy's a pass rusher, and he's a decent run stuffer. I'm not sure you want him dropping back to cover the likes of Travis Kelce or, pick your poison on that, And I think he's a real hand-in-the-dirt guy, which would say 4-3, not 3-4. So my fear, and it may be unfounded, is that we're going to try to turn him into a traditional Jay Gruden loves the 3-4 outside linebacker when that's not really playing to his strengths. So I would hope the Redskins will play to his strengths.
So let me say, since we've gone to the 3-4, this is their third first-round outside linebacker, right?
It is.
Well, okay, Arakpo, Kerrigan. I guess we were still 4-3. But Arakpo, Kerrigan, and now Sweat. All of them were defensive ends, really. None of them really play outside linebacker when they come in.
What's Brian Arakpo better at?
In my opinion,
he's
pass
retired
rusher.
now.
Yeah.
Right. Brian Arakpo, to me, is another guy who's a true 4-3 hand-in-the-dirt pass rusher.
So was Kerrigan, though. I would rather see Kerrigan rushing the passer every down than dropping back, too.
Absolutely. Definitely. That's my point. That's my point exactly. I don't think these guys are real, coverage linebackers. They're pass rushers. And I don't care if they line up, hand on the dirt, or stand up, but a guy like Montez Sweat needs to be rushing the passer first and foremost. That's my fear. Sorry, Jamal, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. I do agree that, especially early on, rushing the passer, using his best traits, his best abilities to benefit the team early on is going to be something that that helps us and helps him as he tries to become more of a all-purpose or 3-down linebacker or edge rusher. But at the same time, I think that overlooking Ryan Anderson is something that shouldn't happen. Not saying you guys are doing it, but just in general, because the conversation now and the conversation that comes in training camp is, where is Ryan Anderson lining up in terms of snap counts and is he lining up with the first teamers and things like that? And Ryan Anderson has had those opportunities in this offseason so far. He's had a few opportunities lining up with the starters. So I kind of think that his development will also impact what Montez Sweat will do for this team his rookie season as well, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, Anderson obviously came from Alabama. I just get the sense that he's more of a run stuffer and less of a true pass rusher. And the reason why I mentioned Alabama is he did get some sacks in Alabama. He had 19 sacks in 4 years in Alabama. But I don't know. He just doesn't look like – he just never exhibited, elite pass rusher traits. Go ahead.
And that's the thing. I agree. Like, he never exhibited elite pass rushing traits. But at the same time, this is his third year.
Third year, yeah.
Yeah, going in the third year. So the workload will increase for obvious reasons. Preston Smith is gone. The workload will increase. His opportunities for development will increase. He has nothing but opportunity for him this year. And with that being said, it's like we have no questions. Like, he's been able to be that guy on the edge who can defend the run and things like that. But at the same time, you'll see a lot. You'll know a lot more from Ryan Anderson in the near future, in a few weeks, training camp. You'll know a lot more then, and then you'll see what happens in preseason as well. But I kind of think that Ryan Anderson is a guy. Not saying he's better than Montez Sweat at all, but at the same time, if you can get around 5 to 6 sacks, in addition to Montez Sweat being the guy that we think that he is, according to what the players and coaches are saying, it's gonna bode well for this.
Five or six would be a boom for him. I don't ever see Anderson as that kind of guy. To me,
he's had 2 sacks on his career.
To me, the best case would be 2 in this season, and because again, I don't think he has the speed to chase down an NFL quarterback. He is there to be.
Shoot, Harrison didn't.
Who's that?
James Harrison.
James Harrison?
James Harrison. Yeah.
I mean, but James Harrison just had another level.
Yeah.
I have a hard time.
Speed wise, I don't want to compare him to, like, because he was a sack master. Like, I don't want to compare him to, like, his abilities and things like that. But at the same time, I'm just saying, like, he never had the speed to get to a quarterback.
True.
He used other techniques. So that's what I'm saying. Like, Ryan will have to develop a tool.
Right now I don't see any tool that he has for getting a pass rush. He's a run stuffer. He's good going left, right, getting to the ball carrier. He's very good at that.
The God's honest truth to me is I wonder if Ryan Anderson isn't better as an inside linebacker. I mean, he's 6'2", 250.
Yeah. He could be.
Sometimes I've wondered if he would be good at an inside linebacker position.
Yeah.
But see, here's the thing. I don't disagree with either of what you're saying in terms of his abilities right now, and I don't. So what the thing is, you can't really bank on. So what you're saying, what y'all are saying, is what you've seen. That's out there. That's a fact. That's on tape. You don't see what you're expecting or what I'm expecting or what the potential can be of Ryan Anderson. So with that being said, right now it's early, but you get those opportunities.
Yeah, listen, I mean, Ryan needs different pass rushing moves, clearly. He's never going to be a speed guy. That's not him. And a lot of guys who were elite sackers are not burners, okay? I mean, so we're not so close-minded as to say that, for sure. I don't know. I just think Ryan Anderson's destiny is more of a run stuffer just sort of generally. Like, for example, here's one. Kevin Green. Mm-hmm. Third all-time leading sacker, at least since I've been keeping stats since 1982, and so there's a whole bunch of guys that aren't on this list. But Kevin Green is not anybody's speed demon. Okay, he had 160 sacks. It's more about pass rushing techniques and attitude more than anything else. And Ryan can get there. I think he's a solid rotational piece. Probably wasn't worth a second-round pick. But
I agree.
He's here now, and I think he can still do some good for the team. He's not going to start. Okay, he's a long term. He's not starting over Ryan Kerrigan and Montez Sweat. So he's a rotational piece. And so if you can get him to be sort of the first, second down run stuffer type, and then get a few sacks out of him, I think that's a win.
I mean, the one thing you can say about him that has made him, even though he hasn't played a lot, has made him more valuable, is he is the leader, it sounds like, of a lot of these Alabama guys. They go to him when there's an issue. When they wanted Landon Collins, it was Ryan Anderson who kind of led that charge. So even though he might be, in the 40s on the depth chart of the 53-man roster, in terms of leadership, he's high up there, which is interesting.
Yeah,
he's got the Rudy thing going.
Got the Rudy
so
thing.
Just to end it, I don't disagree with any of you guys' assessment of Ryan Anderson. I feel like this is a situation where you take things for face value when it comes to that player, and I'm the person who's banking on the potential of him and what you can call a successful investment if such and such pans out. So, yeah, I don't disagree. I'm just sitting here banking on the fact that he has more opportunity than he hasn't had in the past because of the fact that Preston Smith was here and he had other people in front of him as well. So, he'll have more opportunities this year to prove himself.
Should we move on to the big...
Yeah,
the big...
Well, we skipped Ryan Kerrigan.
Yeah, no, we didn't skip him. We're going to move on to him.
Okay. All right, Ryan Kerrigan.
I mean, what can you not say about the guy? He's been here almost a decade now. Easily going to go down as the Redskins' all-time leading sack collector, or whatever you want, sack artist.
Sacker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he's only, 8 away from breaking that record? Or 8.5 or so?
Yeah, okay, so...
It's close.
Yeah.
So he should get there this year unless he, gets hurt. But that's not something that's happened to him before. He's been healthy. Really, one of the best Redskins draft picks probably in the last decade, without question.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, he gets maybe a little bit less credit than he deserves because he's not flashy.
Nationally, he does. Yes.
He's not like a character. Mm-hmm. Like Charles, like Dexter Manley is a character. Right. For example. So Ryan is just steady. You know how many games Ryan Kerrigan has missed in his career? 0. Right. He's 128 for 128, in his career. And the answer to the sack question is Dexter Manley has 91. Ryan Kerrigan has 84.5. Okay, and so, that's set. He needs 8. And he's going to be the all-time leading sacker. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Or 6.5. That's 5. No, he needs 7. Sorry. And he'll be the all-time. So he's going to be the all-time leading sacker. And just to go down the list, in case anybody's curious, it's going to show how bad we've been when I get to one name. But it's Manley, Kerrigan. Mann is next with 82. Monty Coleman, Ken Harvey, Brian Arakpo is 6 with 40. Dave Butts, 35.5. Andre Carter, 34. And then Bruce Smith is 9th with 29. And then Darryl Grant with 27. You know who's number 12?
Who?
Preston Smith.
Wow, really?
Oh my goodness! You know what's crazy? I was actually going to say, that's kind of surprising. I was actually going to say for the short amount of time that Andre Carter was here, it's kind of incredible because I haven't looked at his stats in a long time. But for him to be up there, he was top 10, right?
Yeah, no, he was number 9. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, number 9, and he was only here for like 3 or 4 years. It's kind of crazy.
You can say the same for
he's here for 5 years.
Bruce Smith.
He was here for 5 years?
Yeah. He went 6 sacks in 2006, 10.5 in 2007, 4 in 2008, 11 in 2009, 2.5 in 2010. He only started 5 games that year for some reason. I don't remember why. Oh, yeah.
Probably because of the 3-4. He wasn't no 3-4 guy.
Yeah, that's probably
you can say that about a lot of guys on that list.
Over 10.
That they put up pretty big numbers in short times. Smith was only here 3 or 4 years. Butts, I feel like, wasn't here that long, right? He didn't even get here till his mid-30s or something like that. So, there's a lot of guys on the list that weren't here very long, but they put up big numbers in like 3 or 4 seasons. But back to Kerrigan.
And by the way, Dave Butts was here a really long time, just for the record.
I thought he was only
1975 through 1988.
He was here that long? I thought he didn't get here till he was like 30 years old.
That's a long time.
No.
Who am I thinking? I'm thinking of somebody else then. I don't know.
Yeah, so Kerrigan is Mr. This dude is Mr. Reliable. Right. That's what's great about Ryan Kerrigan. He's had over 10 sacks for the past 3 years. And 4 out of the past 5 years. And 2015, he had 9.5 sacks. He's always going to get his numbers. I don't think he's the greatest edge setter in the run game of the world. Last year we saw him get exploited a little bit on the edge by some running teams. But in terms of pass rushing, he's not flashy. He's not a speed guy, but he always gets his due. He's a little bit streaky. It seems like he goes through. He takes a while to warm up sometimes in the beginning of years. He gets them in groups sometimes, but nonetheless, he's always going to hit his numbers, and that's what's great about Ryan Kerrigan. And he's always there, never hurt, always there.
The other thing to look at with his career is the defensive line that he was playing with those first couple of years wasn't really anything special. We made a historic note of not investing in that line. For the first couple of years that we ran the 3-4. And now that we have, his numbers should just keep staying where they are for a good long while, even as he's hitting his early 30s now. And, who knows how long he'll be here, I guess, at this point, 'cause he's got 2 years left. But, it definitely an interesting thing to see will be if he can just keep up that pace of play, I think, for a couple of years.
With Montez Sweat on the opposite side, there's no reason to suggest he can't. So,
I just a quick thing about Kerrigan, because everything that you guys said is 100% accurate. As much flack as I give him about the missed opportunities with sacks and just whiffs and disappearing for periods at a time, you still kind of take things for granted when it comes to a player like him. He's still a good player. You just know he can do much better. He can do even better. Be even better. Excuse me, and be an elite edge rusher. He has that potential, but he just has to get those opportunities and convert them. So with that being said, as much flack as I give him, he's just one of those. He's one of those guys that Redskins fans should not take for granted. Whether good or bad opinion on him. It's just 2011, 9 years that we've had him. Yeah. Hopefully he can retire as a Redskin.
Oh yeah.
Here's my thing about all the he's missed plays. The guy's already a 4-time Pro Bowler, something like that. He's been to the Pro Bowls multiple times. Four times. He's hit double-digit sacks multiple times. Yeah, 4 times. If he made all those plays you guys think he missed, he would be better than J.J. Watt at that point. There's the margin of improvement, but the next level up for him would be something like that. Right now he is, people tend to think of him as average. No, he's a very good edge rusher.
I think he's like a B+ level edge rusher.
I give him the B+ range. He still has Redskins in general. I'll preface it by saying that. But he still has, if as good as he is, he still hasn't had any All-Pro accolades. As consistent as he's been, and those are things that's really worth value as opposed to Pro Bowls, because Pro Bowls get recognized by fans, players, coaches. That is the true popularity contest. Trent Williams made it at one. I think it was Trent Williams who made it, and he was injured half the year or something like that.
Yeah, well, he's made it every year the last 3 years, and he's not been healthy.
Yeah, yes. So and that's what I'm just pointing at, just in general. So again, B+ player, but I also feel like just to be in that range and where you're recognized as an elite player, where's you just gotta have that recognition from a more professional aspect of awards and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't think offenses are game planning against Ryan Kerrigan. They don't have to double team him. They're not slanting coverage towards his way necessarily specifically for him. He's a good player. His best trait is that he's always there and he's always going to get his numbers. I don't think he's a difference maker particularly. I guess to be honest, that's really what I can say most about Ryan Kerrigan. He's Mr. Reliable. he's never really been a game-changing difference maker, in my opinion.
Okay. I'm looking at the list of other players.
I've got all of them.
You got it? Do you have that whole list of?
Yeah, we're going to go to Jordan Brailford.
Okay,
next.
The draft pick.
Jordan Brailford. Yeah, Jordan Brailford is the rookie out of Oklahoma State. I wrote up a long piece about Jordan Brailford. It's on the website if you want to go look at it, complete with film clips and whatnot. Here's the thing about Brailford. This dude is Mr. Versatile. Okay? Oklahoma State made an effort to move him all around the defensive front seven from play to play. That's how they used him best. He is a jack of all trades. He's not an elite pass rusher.
So is he more of a true linebacker like you were talking about, or is he, when you say move him around, is he moving on to the line?
Well, he played a lot of he played a lot of middle linebacker. Okay. He played outside linebacker. He played defensive end. He even played inside a little bit, here and there. Oklahoma State did everything with this guy. And so Jay Gruden, what does Jay Gruden love most? I always say versatility. Sure. That's why Jordan Brailford's here. I think he's got a decent bull rush. He's got a decent speed rush. He's not hugely fast, but he can make it work sometimes. He can do a spin move inside. I saw him do that many times. The thing where I think he kind of falls down a little bit, I think he loses me a little bit in play recognition. He's hyper aggressive, and a lot of times, running backs will take advantage of that. And so I think that's where he needs some pro coaching to just sort of slow his mind down a little bit before he makes an aggressive move, sort of know what you're doing. Because many times in college, running backs run past him because he over pursued. I think that's his weakness, and that's probably why he's a 7th-round pick, in my opinion.
All right.
So that's
I was kind of surprised when they picked him in the 7th round because, we just picked up Sweat, round 1. But
yeah, but at that point they're just saying good player.
Sure.
Grab the next guy. Jamal, do you have any insight on Jordan Brailford before we move on?
I don't have much. I really didn't watch too much of his college film. I did see him in minicamp, and he made a few plays. I actually put him on Twitter. He had a nice pass rush where he did a spin move. It was an outside spin move. Sold the inside and got outside the tackle, his right shoulder or something like that, and got the sack or would be sacked. So he does display some type of pass rushing capabilities, and it'll be interesting to see what he does in training camp against the better offensive linemen. Assuming Morgan Moses is there, and assuming Trent Williams shows up eventually. It'll be interesting.
And Moses today looked like he was walking fine for whatever, Because again, I saw him an hour ago. He would look totally healthy, at least in the coffee shop. We'll go to Marcus Smith.
Yeah, because I have 2 names left, him and McKenzie. That's right?
Well, and we've got Ryan B., too, who's the undrafted free agent. We'll get to him. So Marcus Smith, 6'3", about 260 pounds, a little under. Came to us from the Seahawks, but he's a 2014 Philadelphia Eagles draft pick. Journeyman. He was a round 1 selection back then. He's never been a starter in his career. Basically a first-round bust. So this is a guy you can sort of hope can come in and be a pro and not screw it up too badly, and that's sort of Marcus Smith.
You hope that, but
nobody's going to be wowed.
He's on his 3rd team in 4 years or 5 years.
I'm not saying that he's going to be a superstar. I'm just saying that's what you can kind of hope. A pro, can kind of come in and, at least not be awful.
Yeah, and but he's fighting for that 4th or 5th spot. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so Casanova McKenzie next. 6'3", 257 pounds from Auburn. He was an undrafted free agent last year in 2018. This is another guy. He's not a speed rusher. He's a strength guy. He ran 4.8 40. If you watch his Auburn film, he was disruptive at Auburn. It is the SEC. He blew up several quarterbacks, at Auburn. He had 8.5 sacks. So he's not a sack rushing specialist necessarily, but he was a disruptive guy, and he's hung around.
Right. He's been a practice squatter the last 2 years, right?
Yeah, he's been a practice squatter. So you kind of sort of hope that he's going to develop into being that big kind of edge-setting run-stuffer guy. I think that's the long-term hope for him. And, I mean, who's got a better name than Casanova, for God's sake?
Sure.
Nobody.
Well, there is that.
that one game was impressive.
Yeah.
Before he got hurt. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Give him that.
Yeah, so he's the type of guy who's trying to hang on. And again, I think the hope is, to me, run stuffing edge stopper. Ryan B is freaking interesting. Next guy, Marshall, 6'7", 280 pounds. Okay, he looks
that's a defensive end more than anything.
He looks like Quasimodo out there. He towers over everybody. It was Marshall, so you're talking about much lower competition. Clearly, he's not a speed guy, anything. But yeah, I mean, they played Ryan. I watched a little bit of Ryan B film because I'm just a nerd like that. And they did play him on the defensive line quite a bit. He did play linebacker sometime. I don't have any speed data on him in terms of 40 time and whatnot. But how fast can a 6'7", 280 pound undrafted free agent possibly be? Not. And so you gotta hope again that this dude ends up being to me an edge setter.
Yeah.
He's not going to be much of a pass rusher.
Well, at that size, I would almost have him as a tweener between our linebackers and our ends, like I said.
Well, he and, the tight end, we just signed a really tall tight end last week. We mentioned that we signed this tight end. We did not mention how tall this dude is. Donald Parham. Donald Parham is 6'8".
That's...
it's
tallest in the NFL
enormous.
Level, yeah.
6'8".
Yeah, Donald Parham is 6'8".
Go Gathers.
So we're signing a bunch of redwood trees.
Okay.
Here between Parham and Ryan B, we've got enormous people now, tons of size. So who knows? I mean, B is probably going to get cut. But he's got a weird size dynamic going to him, and so you hope that maybe if he's not just he just can't move at all. And he didn't look like he could move very well, but he's very big and very strong. So that's his gig.
Gotcha.
So outside linebackers, kids.
Yeah, and there's other names that I look at the Redskins roster. I wish they would list who's outside versus inside on the roster on their website because there's a lot of guys that are just linebacker. And I'm not really sure what you are. Yeah.
Well, on my chart that I have, I've got the giant chart, and you guys get a smaller version of it on our website. I kind of made some choices.
Gotcha.
Based on size. If you're talking about guys and we'll get to them when we do inside linebackers, Andrew Ankara, like Marquise Flowers, DeMarquise Gates. They made a roster move this week, by the way. I haven't updated my chart, but Gates got cut.
Okay.
So he's no longer a Redskin. But anyway, guys like that, they'll have to kind of figure their own way out.
Because if you're in that just at 250 range, you could go either way. So,
yeah, exactly. So true. I mean, and again, Jay Gruden likes versatility. So, but I had to group these guys somehow, and so that's how
I don't blame you. You did it right. All right.
That's it, man.
So
what else
I
we
think
got?
that covers everything
Redskins
for
news.
this week's episode. I know, Steve, you've got some important things you got to get to, so I don't want to keep you too long.
Yeah.
I'd
rather do the show than go where I have to go, to be perfectly
Yeah,
honest. Sorry if you're listening, because you might be.
Don't
sorry.
tell your guest. I mean, the people
he might be listening because he's a Redskins fan. So but he won't hear it till after.
He won't find out till Monday.
Yeah, you're fine. All right.
I just won't get invited to another one. That's all.
That's true. Well, that should wrap up this week's show then. Thank you all for listening. Keep checking out our website for new articles. We have a new one up there every day now. Keep listening to our show, listening to the other shows, Rick's show and Steve's It's Just Business podcast.
It's Just Business, baby.
And check out our sponsors. Click on the links. That helps us bring in money so we can pay for the website.
Because we want your money. Yeah, and buy a T-shirt.
Buy a T-shirt.
For God's sakes, buy a T-shirt.
And the YouTube, we got some new
content
and
Jamal's
I don't know. Let's
on
speak
YouTube.
up. Jamal has done some awesome stuff on YouTube, okay? Please check out Jamal's. Most of the stuff that's not audio is all Jamal on YouTube. And he's done some really great film breakdowns. And he's gotten really good at it, and so they're really good. The 2-minute we started the 2-minute warning thing up again, and so we're doing that again. There's really great stuff on YouTube. So aren't you supposed to subscribe? And
you can subscribe on YouTube. I think we got
absolutely
few hundred or I don't know how many subscribers.
Every day I see new subscribers now come through.
Approaching
on the
400, which is pretty impressive based off growth from the last couple months.
Great.
Get us up to 10,000. If you get us up to 10,000 in a couple weeks, we'd be happy.
Oh my goodness!
Hey, then we'd start getting money.
That's a good goal to shoot for. Let's try it. Yeah, absolutely. That's a goal. Another source of income.
Because I'd really love to not have to pay for this website anymore. That's the goal.
Yeah. We're getting closer. All right, so that should take care of this show. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Everything was just like, all right, no one's talking. Done.
That's it.